Olusegun. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Yeah, good morning. Happy to join.
Great. Now, there are those who would wonder how much of good news this is, especially when it comes to Naira and Kobo, when it comes to having food on the table of the average Nigerian, when it comes to so many issues that affect the ordinary Nigerian on the streets. How does this rebasing particularly position the consumer to be that person that will benefit at the end of the day?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, I think that the rebasing is coming on the backdrop of the statement made by the president last year during the presentation of the budget, that he would reduce inflation in 2025 to about 15%. Well, for me, I thought it was an economic statement. Well, while it's partly economic, I think it's largely political. And that was why, analysts kept saying, oh, what will change? What will the president introduce into the mix that will enable him move inflation from 34% to 15%? But little did we know that the president was well prepared for it. He had thought it through with his team and he knew exactly what he was going to do. So in January, the National Bureau of Statistics then invited us and a couple of our colleagues in the sector to consult on the intention to rebase the inflation figures. Yeah, we were there at that consultation meeting, and then we listened to the MBS. But the truth is that I don't think that data should conflict with human realities or lived experiences of people. What should happen ordinarily is that data should validate the experiences of citizens. In this case, while the system of national accounts provides for the opportunity to adjust the base year for inflation within 5 to 10 years. I think that this coming at this time appears a little bit insensitive. Well, I understand what the government is trying to do, move attention away from what is occupying the space or the minds of the people around the numbers, jacking up. And to be fair to the government, I think there's been some stability, especially on the macroeconomic front. And we actually indeed expect that from January this year, inflation will begin to slow down. Howbeit, maybe not at the rate at which the president projected. But with what has now happened with the adjustment of the base year, I think that maybe the president will then move closer to his projection, but certainly not the people.
That's right. So even with this lower CPI, that's the Consumer Price Index weight, now talking about the food inflation, which is now, core inflation rather, which is now 22.59%, it highlights the rising housing and the transport cost. So with this rebasing, does it reflect the systemic failure in terms of addressing housing or the inadvertently exposed systemic failures in sectors like housing? And what urgent reforms would you now recommend for the government to look into?
Well, you see, the state we're in right now, with what has been done, you see a situation where food, which ordinarily accounts for about 57% of household consumption, has now been rebased from 51.8% to about 40.1%. That's a huge drop. I mean, that's saying that we're not agreeing to the realities. The reality is that people are spending on food, and food is expensive in the market as we speak. While there's been some drop in prices of selected commodities, I think largely people are still spending. I mean, I can attest to what I'm spending in my own household. And I know how, these prices have jacked up over the last couple of months. Also, look at electricity, for instance. You all know that, electricity is not the same it used to be about a year or two ago. Look at communication, for instance. I mean, just recently, we saw that, telecoms provider, said they were going to, and the NCC approved a 50% jack up in prices. Are we saying all those things don't reflect the realities of the people? Is that what we're saying? That we don't reckon with it? So those are issues. But I think that what the government should rather focus on, which it had continued to do before now, is to stabilize the macroeconomic funds, especially the exchange rate. We have some stability with energy supply now in terms of, well, not electricity. So there's some stability in that regard. We are not importing as we used to, that could put pressure on the foreign exchange reserve that we have as it used to, even though we're still looking at the evidence that we have on the table. So I think the MPC will need to just stabilize further that fund, which should in turn impact on inflation figures and the realities of the people. But also is that the fiscal authority will need to do more in terms of providing security that will enable bumper harvest that you just mentioned about. Because I mean, for me, I haven't seen any bumper harvest in that regard. So we will need to really experience that bumper harvest that will drive down the price of food prices. Food commodities in the market. Right. That will then give the people more disposable income, free up their income to attend to other pressing issues.